Hi, I'm Michael Bean. I'm an acting teacher. This is your free film and TV acting lesson for myfreeactingclass.com. Today is Tuesday, April the 6th, and today is our self-tape review. So we're going to be going over camera technique and audition technique and using a couple of self-tapes as a demo. So let's start by looking at Christina's tape. This is a retake from a scene that she sent us last week, and we'll use that to talk about some of the kind of basic setup things. If now that I'm thinking about it, I should probably pull up last week's tape as well so that I can show you all for reference. There it is. And so here we go. This is Christina from last week, I think. Yep. Oops. So framing, this medium close up, we're seeing head and shoulders. Just like you are with me here in this video, we're seeing just the head and shoulders. There's eye light, light reflecting the eyes. The eye line is just off camera, which can be tricky if you're reading by Zoom, which Christina was doing in this case. She was reading the scene via Zoom. And so one of the things that maybe I haven't had a chance to go over in this class, or it's been a while since I covered, is that if you are doing that, if you have somebody else who's reading by Zoom, just make sure that you drag them physically off to one side, that you get out of full screen, because what will often happen is then, and I'll do it right now, if I'm looking at myself and I put myself right under the camera, if I'm acting my scene and I've put the person right here and I'm talking to them, it'll look like I'm looking right into your eyeballs because it's right underneath the camera. So what I've got to do is I've got to put myself off on one side. And then when I'm looking at myself, here, when I'm looking at that other person here, then it's going to look like I'm very close to camera. So I can move that eyeline even closer to camera if I want, but I definitely don't want it here directly at the camera. That's eye line. Framing is what the camera sees, head and shoulders. We got a little bit of space over the head here, but fundamentally it's not an issue. Like it's we'd want to tighten it up. It's a good idea to give yourself a mark. I haven't talked about this in lessons lately, but I've been doing it every time I do a self tape. Is if you're on set, they'll actually use tape. They'll use colored tape and put marks, for you. Basically, like here's your mark, here's your second mark. You're going to start at this mark. You're going to walk into that mark, and you've got to be pretty close to them. You got to be able to, like, without looking at it once you're there, step in and get approximately close to it. The beautiful thing is that if you're doing a tape at home, you can use a book or stack of books or a T-shirt or something that like you would trip over if you tried to step past it. Right, so you can just put something, basically set up the camera so the framing is exactly right, and then put something right there to let you know, and especially if it makes you self-conscious to see yourself. Like, let's say you're taping yourself on Zoom, and or on your camera, and you don't want to see yourself. Well, one of the things that you can do is on a cell phone, you can just turn it around, so that you cannot see yourself. Or in Zoom, you can go into, there's 3 little dots in the corner of your picture in gallery view, and click there and you can go turn off self view. But if you're going to do that, it's important to have marks first. Right? So if I'm sitting at a desk, then I would want to put tape marks to go like, okay, got to be here, because otherwise the risk is that I do great acting, but I do it over here, and that's going to be distracting for everybody, right? Too close, too far off to the side. Give myself tape marks, or like I said, if you're standing, I just put something here by my feet. I'm like, okay, great. Like if I step any further forward, my knees are going to bump this, storage box. So it's easy for me to hit my mark in that respect. So marks can really help with framing, and it's something that I haven't covered in these lessons, but I've been finding really useful in doing audition coaching, and doing taped auditions for folks. So let's go back and look at Christina's tape again. Here's Christina's tape from this week. No, let me see if I can find a more flattering freeze frame. There we go. Good. So head and shoulders, eye light, eye line is nice and close to the camera. Beautiful. Let's watch the tape. The notes from last week. I asked for more reactions. In the tape from last week, I wasn't able to see the reactions, and so I don't have those to compare it to. But you'll see that we get them in here. This is from a scene from a movie of the week, I believe, called Beneath, that I broke down in detail in a lesson, not last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before.
Why do we celebrate them dying?
We're not celebrating, we're honoring them. It's our responsibility.
Mom and Dad don't even know we're doing it. Anyway, happy birthday.
You too.
I didn't get you anything.
That's not shocking. Open it.
But this is yours.
Mom gave it to me when I was 14, and now I'm giving it to you.
Let me have the keys.
Yeah, right.
Dad let you drive when you were my age.
If we get pulled over by the cops, I'm telling them you kidnapped me.
Love that reaction at the end, Christina. Look at that joy face. So wonderful. Really, really wonderful there. So there's the reactions that we were looking for. I think this is like great progress in terms of like you working towards the kind of acting that you want to be doing. And from here, everything that I would suggest exploring essentially involves having more specific opinions about the things that are happening. Right, so I would play with, what is the arc of the scene? Basically, if we were going to explore it, we would just look at exploring it in different directions. We would go, okay, great. Like now that you've got that foundation, of being really honest and having the relationship with the sister, now what if we play with this opinion of the present, or that opinion of the sister, or like this activity at the beginning? I think the end of the scene is the part that is sort of working the cleanest for me, and maybe that's just because that's the part that imaginatively delights you the most. Right? Like, yeah, I got the keys to the convertible. Woo! It's just like easier to imagine, the delight of that. And the if we're going to rework the beginning of the scene, like if you're in class, I might say, well, here, let's do this right now. The first line is, why do we celebrate them dying, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's the question that I often ask my students is, what is something that you have that like, what is the strong feeling or opinion at the very beginning of the scene, in your own words? It's not about finding perfect words for it. It's just about me being curious about your experience, so that I'm not telling you how to feel about it.
Like, what's the feeling? I feel like she's either sad or she's really why are we celebrating them? It's not
good. And so what is that feeling? I can guess based on your face, but if I guess, I might guess wrong. So what is the why are we doing this? What word would you use for that feeling?
Confusion.
Confusion. This just makes no sense to me. Yeah, exactly. Like, let's get out of here. Come on, let's go do something fun. Oh, you're so boring. You're so lame. And so what is something that Christina has that actual opinion about? Right, like bingo, right, like lawn bowling. What's something that you're like, why do people even do this? It's totally baffling why somebody would just choose to spend 2 hours of their life playing bingo. It's a hall full of old ladies, with ink dabbers. What's even going on here?
Exactly. For me, it'd be why do people okay, social media I use a lot, right? But for games, it's all these boys that play Fortnite and stuff. I'm what's so good about that?
Great. Yeah. That face that she's making right now. So everybody watching the video, the beauty of that actual reaction that we just saw. The goal is, right, so you've got everything that you need in your life already. and if somebody asks you like this, like Christina's genuine reaction, she was just like, oh, all the boys and the the games. So that's what we want to bring, that level of specificity to the funeral, so that she's not playing she's not playing a feeling. Like Christina secretly, will be not picturing a cemetery at all. She'll be like watching some guy who she like really likes play this baffling, stupid game and talk about how amazing it is, and hopefully we'll get some of her actual opinion on that. And so if the scene is with me, you've already got me off on one side, so that's perfect. The Start by like watching me play the game, right? Like and yeah, exactly. And or I'm talking about how amazing it is, and just give me that, and then give me the line.
Although the same line, why do we celebrate them dying?
Yeah, yeah. But take your time, right? So first you find the like, yeah, I'm talking about the games. Yeah, games. Oh yeah, Fortnite forever.
Why do we celebrate them dying?
And then I don't know my line, something about respect. But you see how much more specific that opening line is for everybody watching. Like that, from that opinion to the end of like, yeah, I got the keys. That's got a stronger arc, but it also is just more uniquely Christina. Whereas the first one, is we might say is Christina like doing her best to imagine into like, here's what it would be really like at the cemetery, and it just didn't have as much depth, or didn't have as much specificity to it. And so that's when I'm talking about personalizing. That's the kind of thing that I'm really interested in. Is okay, if you'll never have perfect words. So I was like, what is that strong feeling or opinion? You're like, I don't know, it's blah, 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 blah. And I was like, cool, yeah, but like, what's your feeling word for that? Like, it's not going to be a perfect word, but you just give yourself something, because that'll help you go, cool, what do I have that feeling or opinion about? And you're like, games, I like a goddess. So the I think that I'm gonna review Candy's take on it tomorrow, because she said she'd send that tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'm gonna show off a passel of new scenes. We're gonna look at a couple of different scenes, so that we can do this exercise all over again. And Claudine, if you want me to throw up something for Christian and, God, why do I always forget her name?
Victoria,
Kristen and Victoria, to try for practice, would be so happy to do that too. You want me to do that? Yeah. Okay, great. So that'll be my challenge tomorrow. Is like, ooh, okay, because I told Duke last week, that the that I would find something for him. So I got to find some, I got to find scenes, for like teen girl, like adult, female, like adult male, like kids. I got something. It just means that we're going to move a little faster when we do breakdown for tomorrow. I'll see if I can find everything from the same project, so that we can explore something in a particular style. Now let's look at Natalia. Natalia sent us another tape today. We haven't seen one of her tapes for a while. Okay, I just have to come back to this screenshot for a second, because like, oh my God, look at that face. Like, how can you not like that face? Right, you end us there, and we're like, okay, we get your personality, we get a sense of you. So this is this scene is for an office that she auditioned for previously. Natalia goes out for a lot of like Russian spies and CIA agents and things. She sent the breakdown on this one, and I will just read it to you. Here we go. Oops. Hang on, technology is being a little bit slow on my behalf here. So here we go. This is what Natalia said about the scene. The director's work is incredibly naturalistic, shot handheld, almost documentary-like in tone. It responds to raw, real, understated performances and invites actors to create nuanced, subtle work. Varvara, head of the offensive cyber department at the FSB, fierce, super intelligent, piercing gaze, takes no prisoners. Script was in Russian. There's a Google Translate version here for us, if we get confused about what's going on. Right, so the camera finds this guy sitting at the, camera, etc., etc., etc. So we'll watch the scene. Her lines are in Russian, so she will understand what she's saying, but we won't necessarily. But it makes a good way for us to talk about camera technique. One of the first things here, this great eyelight, neutral background, head and shoulders. My preference would be to shoot it a little bit tighter, to go in a little bit closer. But this is, I think this is this framing is just fine. What she's got right here, I cut it. I used iMovie to crop it a little bit closer so I can show you what that would look like. I lost a little bit of quality in doing that because I don't have the original. But then I'll just be able to show you the frame for comparison. So let's just watch the first part of the tape.
Прекрасно. What is this? Это Центр обеспечения безопасности британской телекомпании OpenReach в Лондоне. Is it real time? Да, в реальном времени. Интернет-связь по всей Великобритании. Контролируется компанией OpenReach и еще одной компанией Virgin Media. 29 сентября следующего года мы частично парализуем их работу.
So there's a couple of things here that are just such a strong improvement from some previous self-tapes. And so, Natalia, I know is religious about watching videos. So I'm looking at you, Natalia, to say your reader has the pacing on your reader is really good. You've, man, it's so great that that he's been willing to work with you. But I know that feedback has come up on several of the other takes that he was taking these long pauses before his lines. He was really taking his time. And now, he's just as easily and naturalistically as possible saying his lines. Also his volume is lower than yours, right? There's no rustling of a microphone, right? Audio is nice and clean. Your eyeline is nice and close to camera. I can hear him, but not very loud. I can make out what he's saying, but I'm not paying attention to him at all. I'm just paying attention to you. So audio-wise, really strong improvement, and your setup for this one's really, really clean. It's really you've chosen to do a really stripped back naturalistic take, which I can really understand. Given that they said subtle and nuanced. It's a back and forth that they gave you in these directions, right? They said raw, real, understated. Great. You've got two different eye lines. There's the person you're talking to, and then there's the monitor up there. That part reads well in terms of telling me here's the person I'm talking to. There's the thing we're looking at. That works for me. What I'm not seeing, is the fierce takes no prisoners. And because we've got two takes here, I want to look at just the first, say, 30 seconds, of each take and see if that comes through a little bit more clearly in take number two. And I think that the opportunity, this is a fantastic foundation for the work. Very naturalistic, very simple, clean visually, clean audio. And so from here, and I wish that the time zones made it possible for Natalia to join us so that I could workshop with her like I was workshopping with Christina, but I'm glad I got to do the demo with Christina. I think I would go into, let's talk about the character. Okay, so here's this character who is fierce, super intelligent, takes no prisoners. Right, her first line is, "This is the security center for the company in London." What is the character's strong feeling or opinion? And so right off the bat, what is her strong feeling or opinion about the person she's talking to? What is her strong feeling or opinion, about the office of the place, that sort of they're looking at on the video. And I think in exploration, I would say, great, like, what is that? If you had to put words to that strong feeling or opinion, what is it? Or what do you have that strong feeling or opinion about? So in exploration, I'd want usually in class to take you very far with it. And Claudine, I think that this works, with young performers, just as well, to say, okay, like, um, often if I'm talking to younger folks, especially, they'll say a little bit. Well, I'm like, what's your strong feeling or opinion? And I've learned to always add the word strong, because the answer will almost always be initially, well, a little bit. I kind of like them. I don't know. I sort of think they're kind of annoying. And all of those, like, sort of, kind of, maybes, a little bits, those are just uncertainty, which I think is what the actor is almost always facing. And so you listen to those come out of your mouth, you're like, oh, I know what those words mean. Those words just mean I'm not sure. And so I'm going to accept the fact that I'm not sure, and I'm just going to, like, whatever. Oh, annoying. Okay. Or my strong feeling or opinion about, like, Vadim, who I'm talking to, is that, he better not screw this up. Right? Like, he's new, and so is like, you better not screw this up. And my strong feeling or opinion about the office, is, right. And so, what is that? I'm like contempt, or um, dominance. Like, I want to dominate him. Maybe it's something like that. And that's only one of many choices that we could go with here. And so in exploration, I would go as far as possible, right? So if it was like, my strong feeling or opinion is that, like, he needs to be dominated, right? That, like, and so in practice, I'd be like, what's that first line? This is the security center, right? So in practice, I would go, you better not screw this up. And then when we taped it, I would say, great, now trust that that's in you, and just look at him for a second. And then the security center, right? So we would want to find that, like, subtlety and nuance by making really strong choices, exploring them in a really vivid way, and then saying, okay, now let's get the camera really close to you and just trust it'll all come through. Like, anything that we explored, deeply, we're going to trust that it comes through in detail. Right? That any amount of you doing it on purpose, potentially is going to read as you stretching into the feeling or forcing it in some way. Let's just watch the first 30 seconds for a second take, because then I think you'll see something a little bit different, including a different hairstyle, which I think is a fiercer hairstyle, probably the pulled back.
What is this? Это центр.
Right. So with the caveat that, like, again, this is a fantastic foundation that she's got for the work here. As a coach, as an artist, as just a curious human, I'm like, oh, there's so many different ways that we could explore this. And so I would love to see her start in the middle of her work, or start, by sort of with active intention, so that, right, like, she's signing the thing, she's finishing sending the text message, she's, finishing up on the computer, and then this guy who she's training, says, what is this? And she looks up and has some kind of opinion of him, right? So she's going to start with activity, so that there's that moment of, he says, what is this? And she can look up, and there can be that moment of, like, why are you asking this? Or you better not screw this up, or like, oh, I'm so glad you asked. Which is very different from anything I've talked about before, but you can go any way with this. And then, looking over and seeing the monitor and the sort of strong opinion.
Обеспечение безопасности британской телекомпании OpenReach в Лондоне. Да, в реальном времени. Интернет-связь по всей Великобритании. Контролируется OpenReach и другой компанией. Virgin Media.
Good. Yeah, and the subtlety of it is really nice. I feel like more of that opinion is coming through here.
29 сентября следующего года мы частично парализуем их работу.
Right, so I'm seeing those, like, just a little hint of a smile, so just enough, which I think is right for this style. And I would be curious to see what it would look like if we went in there and just clarified Natalia's opinions about the UK company, and about sort of like how she feels about the fact her intelligence agency has planted cameras inside their offices and the plans that she's got for them. And if just making those choices, in a way that had a stronger feeling or opinion built inside of them would give her even more of that subtlety. The only other thing that I wanted to show you was here's right. So here's the original, the first take. And then just visually for comparison, here it is in a tighter medium close-up, right? And I think that something like this, is going to be more supportive of the subtlety at the top.
What is this? Это Центр обеспечения безопасности британской телекомпании Openreach в Лондоне.
So that's everything that I wanted to cover today. Come back tomorrow. We'll see Candy's tape for Beneath, and a selection of practice scripts that the enthusiastic among you can use for your self-tape practice for next Tuesday. And I hope to encourage more of that because it's been a wonderful exercise. Christina and Candy both, thank you for being brave and trying a new thing and sharing your work with us. I really appreciate it. Do you have questions for me before we wrap up today? No. Good. Okay. Well, if the only thing you take away from today is like, okay, right, yeah, I'm gonna set my marks and I'm going to explore this idea of what is my character's strong feeling or opinion about this. Yeah, and what do I have that strong feeling or opinion about in my life? There's what's that teaching tool? It's like, I'm going to tell you what you're going to learn, and then we're going to learn it, and I'm going to tell you what you learned. So there's your like recap. Thanks for joining us for today's lesson, and I will be back tomorrow, Wednesday, April 8th. To talk story breakdown. Ooh, and I've got somebody who is the assistant for Vancouver's, like biggest, busiest commercial casting director. And she's agreed to come in as a guest. So I think she'll come in as a guest, hopefully, if our schedules work out next week. And I asked her and she was like, yeah, I can tell you exactly how to do a Zoom audition, for commercials. This is like, they're so fast, like this is all I do. I just sit in the waiting room with people and like I make sure they're set up for success. And I was like, perfect. Well, then you're the perfect person to talk to. And she's new enough at it. She's a student of mine who's just been doing this for the last year. And so she's new enough at it that it's all like fresh and exciting for her. So you guys are gonna love her. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
My
Bye.
pleasure.